He said it like it was nothing, like it was something he'd said 100 times before, like the man standing in front of him, hands already raised, voice already calm, badge already out, was exactly what he'd decided he was the moment he saw him. I don't care what that says. I know what I'm looking at, and what I'm looking at doesn't have anything to do with the FBI. Then he took the badge, slid it into his own pocket, zip-tied a federal agent's wrists behind his back, pushed his face against the hood of the cruiser, and drove him to jail. That's how it started. A black man. A badge that got ignored. A Georgia Police Department that had been ignoring badges and rights and human beings for 9 straight years and had never once paid a price for it. What the officer didn't know, what none of them knew, was that the man they just threw in the back of that cruiser wasn't just a federal agent. He was the lead investigator on the federal case against them. He had been living in that county for 11 months, under a fake name, building a file, documenting every violation, every planted bag, every cold cell, every lie typed into a computer at midnight by hands that thought they'd never be found. His name wasn't in their system, but their names were in his, all 13 of them. And here's what makes this story different from every other story like it. He didn't fight back. He didn't lose his composure. He didn't give them a single thing they could use. He just sat in that freezing cell, in the dark, in the cold, and he waited. Because he already knew something they didn't. He already knew what was coming. What happened over the next 8 hours would end 26 years of unchecked power in a single night. 13 badges would be stripped. $6.2 million would leave the city's accounts, and a department that had destroyed lives for nearly a decade, burying people under fake charges, manufactured evidence, and paperwork signed by hands that never saw a courtroom, would answer for every single one of them. But to understand how it all went down, how one man's patience became the most powerful thing in that county, we need to go back to a Tuesday afternoon. A strip mall parking lot, a dark blue Suburban moving at exactly the speed limit, and a police officer running plates out of boredom, about to make the last bad decision of his career. Route 9 cuts through Caldwell, Georgia, like a straight seam through worn fabric. 2 lanes of state highway, strip malls on both sides, a Dollar General with a sun-bleached sign, a closed-down furniture store with plywood where the windows used to be, and August heat. The specific kind that doesn't ask permission, that presses down on everything and makes the asphalt at the road's edges shimmer like it's considering becoming something else. You can smell it through a closed window. Hot tar and cut grass and the faint metallic sweetness of a car that's been sitting in a parking lot since noon. It is 3:47 in the afternoon. Inside a dark blue 2022 Chevy Suburban, moving at exactly the speed limit, Miles Davis plays low on the stereo. Kind of blue, the trumpet so soft it's almost thinking out loud. The driver has one hand on the wheel. His other arm rests against the door. He is not hurrying. He has nowhere urgent to be, and he carries that fact the way some men carry expensive things, without calling attention to it, but with full knowledge it is there. His name, if you asked anyone in Caldwell, is Marcus Dean, logistics consultant, 11 months in the county. He drives a car registered to a Decatur LLC, pays his bills on time, and keeps to himself in a way that reads as professional privacy rather than anything worth investigating. His navy Oxford shirt is pressed. His charcoal slacks have a crease. On his left wrist, he wears a watch that catches the gold afternoon light when he adjusts the radio dial. An ordinary-looking thing, retail in every visible detail, no ports, no markings, nothing to indicate that it has been recording continuously for the past 4 hours and 23 minutes. His real name is Marcus Dillard. He is 44 years old, 14-year FBI veteran, former Marine JAG officer, a legal mind forged inside a combat framework, which means he understands both the law and the physical reality of what happens when it stops working. He is the lead investigator on Operation Hollow Badge, a joint FBI/DOJ task force that has spent 11 months documenting systemic civil rights violations, evidence planting, and racially discriminatory enforcement patterns inside the Caldwell Police Department and its parent agency, the Morrow County Sheriff's Office. He has enough material to indict 7 officers. His supervisors want to wait for the remaining 6 before executing warrants, including the 2 highest-ranking targets whose names appear on the active indictment file currently sitting in a locked drawer at the Macon field office, 40 miles south of where he's driving right now. What the Caldwell PD does not know is that Marcus Dillard exists. What Marcus Dillard knows, and has known for 11 months, is exactly who they are. He checks his mirrors with the particular frequency of a man who is professionally accustomed to being followed. 3 times in the last 2 minutes, each check brief and unremarkable, part of a rhythm so practiced it looks like habit rather than vigilance. He is returning from the southern end of the county, a dead-drop exchange with a confidential informant. Nothing about his manner suggests anything happened there. Nothing about his manner ever suggests anything. Clipped inside his belt at the small of his back, a secondary GPS beacon the size of a shirt button pulses its 2-minute signal south to the Macon field office. His supervisor, Supervisory Special Agent Renata Osei, monitors 2 signals, that beacon and the vehicle tracker on the Suburban. 2 independent confirmation lines. Standard protocol for agents operating alone in hostile jurisdictions. When both signals are active, she knows he's fine. She doesn't need to call. In a strip mall parking lot off the eastbound shoulder, a CPD cruiser sits with its engine running. Officer Dale Pruitt is behind the wheel, running plates. He is 38, broad-shouldered, jaw carrying tension even at rest, 2 years from his pension. He has the restless, scanning energy of a man who is always looking for a reason, not to enforce the law exactly, but to exercise a thing that lives adjacent to it and has the same uniform. His partner, Officer Kevin Stalls, 29, sits in the passenger seat with his phone angled away from the dashboard camera, scrolling. Stalls is young enough to still be learning who he is, and he has made the particular mistake of letting Pruitt teach him. The Suburban passes. Pruitt watches it. The plate reader fires automatically, and the result comes back in 4 seconds. Decatur LLC, registered owner, no violations, no flags. Clean. Legitimate. Everything in order. Pruitt stares at the result longer than 4 seconds. There is nothing there. He knows this. He can see this. He pulls out of the parking lot anyway, because something about a man who drives a car that nice and carries himself that straight bothers him in a way he doesn't need to name. The feeling is enough. It has always been enough in Caldwell. The blue and red lights come on. In the Suburban, Marcus sees them in the rearview mirror. His face does not change. His expression does not harden, does not tighten, does not register anything that could be described as reaction. He signals. He eases to the shoulder in a single clean movement. He turns off the engine. He places both hands on the top of the steering wheel before the cruiser has even finished stopping behind him. He has done this before. Not as a victim, as a professional who has studied what it costs a man to do the wrong thing in front of a federal recording device. The watch records. The beacon pulses. Miles Davis plays 3 more notes, and then the stereo goes quiet. Pruitt takes his time getting out of the cruiser. He approaches the driver's side slowly, one hand resting near his belt, not threatening, not yet, just positioned. Stalls moves to the passenger side. Standard 2-officer approach. Marcus tracks them both in his mirrors without turning his head. License and registration. Yes, sir. Marcus's voice is level and unhurried, 1 full beat slower than the situation seems to call for. He narrates each movement before he makes it. Reaching for my wallet in my left breast pocket now. He produces both documents without a fumble, without rushing, and extends them through the window with his fingertips. My name is Marcus Dean. Is there a reason for the stop, officer? Pruitt takes the documents without answering. He studies the license, the name, the address. He takes a long time, longer than the documents require, and during that time he does not look up. It is a dominance behavior, making a man wait, making him feel the weight of a stranger's attention on his paperwork, and Marcus watches it happen with the calm of a man who has already cataloged it. "What are you doing in Caldwell, Marcus?" Not Mr. Dillard, not sir. Marcus. The familiarity of it is a signal, not a slip, a statement. "Business, logistics consulting." Marcus holds his voice neutral. "I have an office on the north side of the county." "Mm-hmm." Pruitt hands the documents to Stalls without taking his eyes off Marcus. The sound he made, that flat, dismissive, "mm-hmm," carries a complete sentence inside it. The sentence is, "I don't believe you. I don't care whether I believe you, and none of that is relevant to what I'm about to do." A pickup truck slows on the opposite side of the road, rubbernecking. The driver looks, then accelerates. "Step out of the vehicle." Marcus does not move immediately. One beat of silence, not defiance, not hesitation, but the deliberate pause of a man completing a calculation before he speaks. "Officer, I'm happy to cooperate fully." His voice does not rise. It does not sharpen. It is, if anything, quieter than before. "Before I step out, I want you to understand. I am a federal employee. I am not a threat to you, and everything happening here is being documented." Pruitt's face goes flat. Whatever the word was for the expression he wore before, casual contempt, practiced authority, bored performance, it is gone now. What is left is simpler and more dangerous. He leans one hand on the roof of the Suburban and brings his face to the open window. "Get out of the car." The audience knows what Pruitt does not. They have known since the cold open. Marcus Dillard is not a logistics consultant in an expensive car with no good reason for it. He is the man who has been building the case that will end Dale Pruitt's career, his freedom, and the careers and freedom of 12 other people currently going about their Tuesday afternoon entirely unaware. Every word Pruitt speaks is evidence. Every choice he makes from this moment forward is a count on an indictment. He is standing at the edge of a cliff, and he is pointing at it and calling it a victory. Marcus reaches for the door handle. The shoulder of Route 9 in August heat smells like hot asphalt and dried grass and the particular chemical sweetness of a car that's been idling for 5 minutes. The temperature on the pavement is 104 degrees. You can feel it through the soles of your shoes. Marcus Dillard stands beside his Suburban with both hands raised and visible, facing the hood, and does not show anyone on Route 9 what that heat is doing to him. 3 cars have already slowed on the opposite side of the road. Rubbernecking, the particular way people slow down when something feels wrong in public, and they aren't sure yet whether their obligation to it has a name. 2 of them keep going. 1 doesn't. A 2019 Honda Civic, dusty silver, pulls into the strip mall entrance 30 yards back. The driver kills her engine but doesn't get out. She raises her phone. Her name is Tamara Ellis. She is 26, on her way home from a 12-hour nursing shift at Caldwell Regional, still in her scrubs. She has filmed 2 police stops in this county before. Both times she stayed quiet, stayed wide, kept the frame steady. She is not making content. She is making a record, and the distinction is visible in the way she holds herself, the way she braces the phone against the steering wheel to eliminate shake. Her live stream goes live with 4 viewers, her cousin, a coworker, a high school friend, and a stranger who stumbled in from her feed. Her hands are steady. Stalls moves to Marcus's right side and begins a pat-down. He is not rough, not yet, but he is thorough in the way that signals he's looking for a reason rather than executing a procedure. Working from the shoulders down, methodical, saying nothing. Marcus keeps his palms open and his eyes forward. Then Stalls stops. His hands have found something in Marcus's inner jacket pocket, a case, flat and rectangular, black leather with a gold federal seal embossed on the front. The kind of case that reads as official from across a room. Stalls holds it for a moment. He looks at Pruitt. Pruitt steps over and takes it. He opens the case, reads the identification inside. The narrator will slow here, Hold on this beat, because what Pruitt does in the next 5 seconds is not impulsive. It is not confusion, and it is not error. It is a decision. His eyes move across the text. His expression does something complicated and then simplifies. He closes the case. He puts it in his own jacket pocket. Marcus watches this happen. His voice, when it comes, is completely level. Officer Pruitt. A pause. That credential is federal government property. What you just did is a federal crime. I need you to return it to me right now. Pruitt looks at Stalls over Marcus's shoulder. He almost smiles, a small, private thing, the expression of a man sharing a joke with himself. Looks fake to me. He tilts his chin at Stalls. We're going to have to take him in. Stalls does not return Marcus's eye contact. He has gone very still in the way young men go still when they've just stepped into something they don't fully understand yet, but cannot step back from. I'm going to give you one opportunity to make a different decision, Marcus says. His voice has not changed in pitch or volume. It is the same measured, unhurried register it has been since the window came down. I strongly recommend you take it. Pruitt's eyes sharpen. You threatening me? A woman in a white SUV slows to a crawl on the northbound side. She has her window down. She is watching. She drives on. The zip ties come out. Departmental cost-cutting measure. Standard issue on Pruitt's belt. The kind that bite into skin differently than steel and leave a different kind of mark. Stalls moves Marcus toward the hood of the Suburban, one hand on his left arm, not gentle. And Marcus goes, still not resisting, still not raising his voice, his face briefly against the warm metal of the hood. Tamara's camera catches the image clearly from 30 yards. A man in a pressed navy Oxford, face against the hood of his own vehicle, hands bound behind him, 2 officers standing over him on a road that has no emergency on it. 61 viewers now on Tamara's live stream. She hasn't said a word. In the comments, oh my God, / is he okay, / why did they stop him, / share this. Marcus is walked to the rear of the cruiser. He ducks inside without being pushed. He arranges himself in the seat. He does not slam back against it, does not look through the window with desperation. He settles. His watch is still recording. His beacon pulses its 2-minute signal toward Macon, undetected on his belt, the size of a shirt button, in a county whose officers have no idea it exists. What Officer Pruitt does not realize, cannot imagine, because imagining it would require him to consider a universe in which a black man in an expensive car might have legitimate reasons for it, is that he has just committed multiple federal crimes in front of a recording device he doesn't know exists. He took a man's federal credential. He filed a false detention. He put federal property in his jacket pocket and called it fake to a man who knows every federal statute under which that act is prosecuted. But Pruitt isn't thinking about any of that. He's thinking about the paperwork. He's thinking about how he's going to write this up. He's thinking, with the deep institutional comfort of a man who has never been held accountable for anything, that this is just another Tuesday. The cruiser pulls out. Tamara watches it go. She pans slowly to follow, then holds on the Suburban, left alone on the shoulder of Route 9, doors locked, engine off, no ticket on the windshield, no reason posted, just sitting there like something discarded, like something someone decided they didn't need anymore and left on the side of the road. She turns the camera toward herself for half a second, then back to the road. She doesn't need to say anything yet. Her viewers already understand what they saw. She puts her car in drive. She follows the cruiser at a distance, maintaining clear line of sight, phone steady against the wheel. Her live stream counter climbs. The audience follows with her, sick with recognition, vibrating with something sharper. Because they know what Pruitt doesn't. They have known since the cold open, and they are waiting, with the particular patience of people who have been promised a reckoning, for the moment it arrives. The Caldwell Police Department sits on the corner of Vine and 4th, a mid-century building that got a new facade in 2011 without getting any new ideas. the kind of civic architecture that communicates authority through sheer indifference to aesthetics. Glass doors, fluorescent interior, the faint institutional smell of industrial cleaner and old coffee that never fully disappears from public buildings, no matter how many times the floors get mopped. It is 4:19 p.m. when the cruiser pulls into the back lot. The parking lot smells like motor oil and hot concrete. The door to the sally port is propped open with a rubber stop, and a thin breath of air-conditioned air leaks out, cool, just barely, against the August furnace. Marcus Dillard sits in the rear of the cruiser and does not shift in his seat. His hands are bound behind him. The zip ties have been on for 32 minutes. They are doing what zip ties do. He breathes through it. Pruitt gets out first. He exchanges a brief word with Stalls over the roof of the car, too low to record, and Stalls nods. Then Pruitt opens the rear door and tells Marcus to come out, and Marcus comes out. One careful movement, both feet finding the ground, and they walk him inside. The booking desk is staffed by one person, Rhonda Keels, 47, administrative coordinator, 19 years with the department. She is seated behind a scratched plexiglass partition with a monitor, a keyboard, and a cup of coffee going cold at her elbow. She has a flat, unhurried energy, the energy of a woman who has processed hundreds of bookings and has learned to treat each one as a form to be completed rather than a person to be seen. She does not look up when they come in. Name? Marcus Dean, Pruitt says. He hands her the license. She types it in. Date of birth? Marcus gives it. His voice is even. Address? He gives the cover address. He answers every question in the same unhurried register. Cooperative, precise, no affect. Rhonda types without looking at him. The monitor reflects in her glasses. He had this on him, Pruitt says, and slides the credential case across the counter. Rhonda picks it up, opens it, reads it. Something moves briefly across her face, there and gone, the flicker of a woman's internal calculation, and then she sets it on the desk beside her keyboard. Not back to Marcus, not in an evidence bag, not formally logged as contraband, just set to the side, like mail she'll deal with later. Charges? She asks. Obstruction, resisting, possession of fraudulent law enforcement credentials. The last one lands in the air of the booking room and stays there. Marcus looks at Pruitt. His voice is quiet. I've now given you 3 documented opportunities to make a different decision. That credential is authentic. You took it from me, you put it in your pocket, and you're now filing fraudulent charges against a federal agent. I want you to understand that all of this is being recorded. Pruitt leans one hand on the counter. He is not loud. He doesn't need to be. Son, I've been doing this since before you were whatever you think you are, so let's both stop pretending. He straightens up, rolls his shoulders. Book him through. Rhonda saves her entry without looking up. And here is what Rhonda Keels does not know on this Tuesday afternoon in August as she types the charges that will become 3 of her own federal counts. The man at the booking desk is not Marcus Dean. He is the lead investigator on the case that has her name in it. He has been in this county for 11 months. He knows about the cold annex cell. He knows about the evidence planting. He knows about the 9 internal complaints that were closed without finding, and the 4 prior victims whose names were buried in paperwork she helped process, and the practice that everybody in this building knows about and nobody in this building has ever written down. He knows all of it, and his watch is still recording. Rhonda pours herself a fresh cup of coffee. They take Marcus through a second door, a narrow corridor, institutional gray, a water-stained ceiling tile above the 4th light fixture. The air gets cooler as they go deeper into the building, not comfortable cool, the other kind, the cold that sits in the lungs and says something is wrong here, the cold that doesn't come from an air conditioner running too high, but from a room that has been left cold on purpose, for a purpose everyone here understands and no one here has written down. The annex cell is at the end of the corridor. No window, concrete walls, a metal bench bolted to the far wall with no pad on it. The temperature, when the door opens, is somewhere near 58 degrees. The smell is old and flat, cold concrete and something faintly chemical, like the memory of industrial bleach. The door closes behind Marcus. The lock turns. He sits on the bench. The metal is cold through his slacks immediately. Not uncomfortable yet, just present, a fact his body is registering the way it registers all facts. Neutrally, for now, with the knowledge that neutrality has a time limit. He looks at the door. He looks at the walls. He breathes. His watch is recording. His beacon, still clipped inside his belt at the small of his back, the size of a shirt button, the backup signal that no one in this building knows to look for, pulses its 2-minute signal south toward Macon. 40 miles away, on a monitor in the Macon field office, a green dot blinks. Supervisory Special Agent Renata Osei is watching 2 signals. Both are active. She knows where he is. She knows he's still standing. She is the most important person in this story who doesn't know yet that she's about to become the most important person in this story. Marcus settles on the bench. He presses the soles of his shoes flat against the floor and sits with his spine straight and his hands in his lap and his breathing even, and he waits. The way a Marine waits, the way a lawyer waits, the way a man waits who has spent 14 years understanding that patience is not the same as passivity, and that the difference between the two is the case that gets built while everyone around you is convinced they've already won. The fluorescent light above him buzzes twice and settles. Outside, on Route 9, his Suburban sits on the shoulder in the August heat. Miles Davis still on the system. Engine off. Doors locked. 11 months of operational work on the encrypted drive in the dash, secured under a password that Pruitt doesn't know exists, in a car that will be found by federal forensics teams in approximately 5 hours and 20 minutes. What came next took 8 hours. Stay with me. The county annex holding area is not designed to make anyone comfortable. That is not an accident. Cinder block walls painted the particular shade of institutional green that was chosen, decades ago, by someone who had clearly never been required to look at it. A metal bench bolted to the wall, no padding. A drain in the center of the floor. A ceiling vent in the far corner that rattles every 40 seconds with a sound like something small and metal tumbling through ductwork. Loose, rhythmic, relentless. It is 5:11 p.m. The cold comes first in the shoulders, then the chest. Then it spreads out from there and becomes ambient, becomes just where you are, becomes the whole room and everything in it. Marcus Dillard has been in the cell for 48 minutes in a dress shirt and slacks with no jacket, taken during processing, and he is doing the thing he has trained himself to do, which is to treat his body's discomfort as information rather than complaint. He notes the cold. He files it. He breathes. Building maintenance records, subpoenaed 6 weeks from now by federal investigators, will confirm what Marcus's body already knows. The temperature in this cell is 54 degrees Fahrenheit. The HVAC system in the county annex has been malfunctioning intermittently for 2 years. Maintenance requests have been filed. They have been ignored. The detainees who spent time in this cell before Marcus, and there have been many of them, and their names are in a file that Renata Osei is already building, were all released without a single medical observation written down. Marcus will be the first whose hypothermic stress is examined by a federal field medic and entered into a case record. He will not be the last name that record serves. He hears footsteps in the corridor. He straightens. A deputy passes the cell without slowing. Deputy Carl Moat, 41, broad across the back, eyes forward, the practiced non-look of a man who has made a decision about what he is going to see and what he is not. Marcus raises his voice, not loud, level. Deputy, I need either a blanket or a change of clothing. This cell is below 55 degrees. Moat keeps walking. He does not look at the cell. He does not slow. The footsteps continue, and then they are gone, and then there is only the vent again, rattling at its 40-second interval, and the cold. The narrator will note this, not with fury, but with precision. Carl Moat has passed this cell before. He has known about the temperature for months. He has never filed a complaint. His silence today is not distraction. It is not indifference in the sense of failing to notice. It is a choice. The same choice, made the same way, for months. And choices have a record, and records have consequences, and Carl Moat is going to learn that the hard way. 30 miles away and outside, Tamara Ellis has not moved. She has been parked across from Caldwell PD for an hour and 20 minutes. Her scrubs are still on. Her phone is still on the dash, still live streaming, the camera pointed at the entrance of the building where they took the man from Route 9. Her viewer count is at 840. Comments scroll faster than she can read them. Where'd they take him? Is he okay? Has anyone called a lawyer? Is this still going? She answers what she can. She shares her location. 2 people say they're on the way. She types back immediately. Stay home. Don't give them a reason. Just watch. She does not look away from the building. In the Macon FBI field office, 40 miles south, a monitoring system runs its automatic check at 5:47 p.m. Supervisory Special Agent Renata Osei is at her desk. 3 screens, 2 phones, a legal pad with 11 months of shorthand on it. The check flags a gap. Marcus's personal beacon last pinged at 4:03 p.m. His vehicle GPS shows the Suburban still stationary on Route 9's shoulder, engine off, unmoved. Both signals dark for 1 hour and 44 minutes. The standard grace window is 2 hours. 16 minutes remaining. Renata does not panic. Renata does not have a panic setting. What she has is a secondary monitor that she opens to the Caldwell PD booking log. Operation Hollow Badge has read access, a detail Hatcher's department has never thought to check, and she begins a quiet lateral search. She is looking for a cover name she has memorized and hoped, for 11 months, she would never need to search. Marcus Dean, booked 4:47 p.m., possession. She reads the entry twice, not because she doesn't understand it the first time, because she is making sure, in the space of those 2 readings, that she has already begun building the sequence in her head. What to call first, what documentation to pull, what the booking means in the context of who is on duty tonight. She sets her coffee cup down on the desk, very carefully. She does not pick it up again. Marcus closes his eyes in the cold cell. He is not sleeping. He is running through the past 2 hours in order, not emotionally, but procedurally. The stop, the credential case, the zip ties, Hatcher's face at the table, the warnings he delivered, each one clear and specific and on record. Every item in sequence, cataloged, preserved. The vent rattles. 40 seconds, reliable as a metronome. He opens his eyes, checks his wrist. The watch face glows. Ordinary, retail, nothing to see. Still recording. He closes his eyes again. Outside, the August sun sinks below the Caldwell roofline, and the strip mall parking lots go amber, then gray, and Tamara Ellis turns on her headlights against the dark and does not go home. By 7:18 p.m., the overhead fluorescent in the corridor outside the cell is flickering. 1 of 3 bulbs burned out, the remaining 2 cycling through a rhythm that is almost, but not quite, steady. The cold is not a new sensation anymore. It has moved past the stage of sensation entirely and become a condition, the same way a smell becomes the air of a room after long enough. Marcus's dress shirt is faintly damp at the collar, the sweat of the afternoon that never dried in this cold, and the dampness sits against his skin and pulls the temperature down another degree. He is aware of this. He is aware of everything. A key in the lock. The door opens. Deputy Garrett Lyons steps through it. 33, Morrow County Sheriff's Office, built across the shoulders the way some men are built who have mistaken physical size for authority and never been seriously challenged on the distinction. He walks into rooms at a certain angle. Not aggressive exactly, more like a man who expects the room to accommodate him and has never had reason to think otherwise. What Deputy Lyons does not know, What he cannot know, because knowing it would require him to believe a version of this situation that his entire worldview has no architecture for, is that his name is on the Operation Hollow Badge indictment. It has been there for 6 weeks. 14 prior documented incidents, 9 of them involving use of force applied to black residents at rates the statistical model in the federal case file flags as a pattern rather than coincidence. Marcus Dillard has read his file, has read it carefully, has had 9 months to become fluent in exactly who Garrett Lyons is. Lyons does not know any of this. Marcus knows all of it. Deputy Ellis Crane, 27, stands in the open doorway behind Lyons, arms folded, face neutral. He does not step inside. He does not look directly at Marcus. He is present the way furniture is present, occupying space, contributing nothing. Stand up. Marcus stands. Both hands visible, posture neutral. He says nothing. Lyons closes the distance faster than he needs to. He takes a fistful of Marcus's shirt collar and drives him backward into the cinder block wall. The impact runs from Marcus's shoulder blades, down his spine, and the back of his skull catches the block at the base. Not enough to drop him, not a killing blow, the particular kind of calculated violence that knows exactly how much it can do without creating a body. Marcus's vision goes sharp for 1 second. He breathes. At close range, close enough that his voice doesn't need to carry, Lyons speaks. The narrator will not reproduce the words exactly, because some things don't need to be repeated to be understood. What the audience needs to know is this: the words are racial, deliberate, and chosen with the precision of someone who has said them before and knows the specific effect they have on a person. They are not hot words, not rage, not loss of control. They are cold words, delivered cold, which is its own category of thing. The message is structural. You are alone. No one is coming. Whatever happens in this room, stays in this room. Your little recording toy, Lyons says, already got found, already handled. He gestures at the watch. So you can stop that. He is bluffing. The watch is still recording. 4 inches from Lyons's face, looking like exactly the retail Garmin model it was designed to resemble, with no ports, no indicators, nothing that reads as anything other than what a man wears on his wrist when he checks the time. The recording continues without interruption. Marcus looks at Lyons. He looks at him the way a man looks at something he has known was coming for a long time and has already decided how to handle. When he speaks, his voice is the quietest it has been all day. I know your name, Deputy Lyons. A pause. I know your record. I need you to remember that I told you that, and that I told you this conversation is being documented before you decide what to do next. Silence. In the doorway, Crane shifts his weight. He looks briefly at the floor. Lyons stares at Marcus for 3 full seconds. Something moves across his face. Not doubt, not recognition, something closer to the irritation of a man being told a thing he refuses to accept, and then he makes a short sound that might be a laugh and walks out. Crane follows without speaking. The door closes, the lock turns, the vent rattles. Marcus stands for a moment without moving. Then he touches the back of his skull with 2 fingers, notes the tenderness, removes his hand. He sits back down on the bench. The cold has not gotten warmer. The watch has not stopped recording. His personal beacon pulses its 2-minute signal into the dark, toward Macon, toward a woman who is no longer doing anything except looking at screens that tell her exactly where her agent is and exactly how long he has been there. If you're feeling what I'm feeling right now, hit that like button, because I promise you, we are only halfway through this night, and what happens in the next 3 hours is going to change everything. At 8:34 p.m., the strip mall parking lot on Route 9 is dark except for one amber security light bolted over the Dollar General entrance. The kind of light that turns everything beneath it the color of old photographs, flattening depth, draining context. Marcus's Suburban sits on the shoulder where it was left, still locked, still exactly where Pruitt abandoned it at 4:03 p.m., now 6 hours and 31 minutes ago, like something that lost its owner and is waiting. A CPD cruiser is parked beside it. It has been there for 40 minutes. The officer behind the wheel is Nate Garrow, 36, and he is not alone. Officer Dennis Beal, 44, has his own vehicle pulled half onto the shoulder behind the cruiser, a personal car, and in the trunk of that personal car, not the department-issued kit, his own, is an evidence collection bag that he carries everywhere he goes. Not because the department requires it, for reasons that the federal investigation is going to illuminate in full. The Suburban is accessed with a Slim Jim at 8:19 p.m. The entry is practiced. No sound, no damage. The door swinging open smooth. Beal does not use gloves from the department kit. He uses his own. The bag comes out of his trunk already sealed. Inside the Suburban, nothing. Because there was nothing there to find. 11 months of operational work on an encrypted drive, yes, but nothing visible, nothing accessible, nothing that could be called contraband by anyone who wasn't about to manufacture some. The bag goes in between the driver's seat and the center console. It is positioned with the specific attention of men who have done this before, close enough to look like concealment, accessible enough to be discovered. Inside the bag, approximately 14 grams of a crystalline substance, field test positive for methamphetamine, packaged in a manner that signals distribution rather than personal use. Beal photographs it in place before touching it. The photographs are time-stamped 8:31 p.m. He discovers it at 8:34 p.m. 2 cars pass on Route 9 during the 3 minutes this takes. Neither slows down. The amber light makes everything look like something else. 43 minutes later, at 8:47 p.m., Sergeant Boyd Hatcher appears at Marcus's cell door. He has the look of a man who has decided something and feels easier for having decided it. Settled, unhurried, wearing his certainty the way he wears his sergeant's stripes. He puts one hand on the doorframe and looks at Marcus the way a man looks at a problem he believes he has just solved. Search of your vehicle turned up narcotics. He says it the way he'd say the weather. Flat, informational. He uses the word unfortunately, a small, performative word, the word of a man doing theater for an audience of one. 14 grams, package for distribution. Silence. Marcus does not move for 3 full seconds. The narrator wants you to sit in those 3 seconds with him, to feel the specific, physical weight of what is happening. Because planting evidence is not a bureaucratic error. It is not overzealous policing. It is a crime that has destroyed real men's real lives, broken families, taken years, and Hatcher is doing it with his hands in his pockets, in a 60-watt hallway, as if it cost him nothing. Because for 26 years, it has cost him nothing. Then Marcus speaks, and his voice is the quietest it has been since Route 9. Sergeant, I am the lead investigator on a federal civil rights case that has been in active development for 11 months. He does not raise his voice. He does not lean forward. Your name is already in that file. So is Officer Pruitt's. So is Deputy Lyons's. What you just described doing to my vehicle is not a problem for my investigation. It is the most serious charge you have added to your own. He holds Hatcher's eyes. I am asking you, clearly and for the last time, to let me make one phone call. You should let me make that call. Hatcher looks at him. The narrator will slow down here, because this is the moment. This is the cliff edge. If Hatcher were a smarter man, or a more honest one, or just a man who had ever, once in 26 years, been made to sit with the consequences of what he does, something in those words might reach him. The audience can see it, the ghost of a thing, somewhere behind his eyes, that in another life might be called an instinct for self-preservation. It flickers, then it goes out. You'll get your call when I decide you get one. He steps back from the doorway. Right now I've decided no. He walks away. He does not look back. Outside, Tamara Ellis's live stream counter reads 3,400 concurrent viewers. Someone in the comments has found the Suburban still parked on Route 9. 3 cars have pulled into that lot. Their occupants are filming it from outside the windows, pointing phones at a car that sits under a parking lot light while the world figures out in real time what has been done to the man who drove it. Tamara tells her audience she doesn't know what's happening inside, but she's not leaving. The comment section is moving too fast to read. In the cold cell, Marcus sits with what Hatcher just told him and does something that looks from the outside like absolute stillness. Inside, he is working. The bag, the position, the timestamp they'll use. He has studied how this department operates. He has read the case files. He knows exactly how they'll write this up because they have written it up this way before. The same positioning, the same framing, the same plausible deniability. And he knows something Hatcher does not, that the Suburban's GPS logged its exact position every 4 seconds from 4:03 p.m. forward. That those logs are in federal hands. That within the hour, 40 miles north of this building, Supervisory Special Agent Renata Osei has stopped doing everything except one thing. The situation was about to change. Completely. Irreversibly. And Hatcher, walking back toward the warm part of the building, satisfied with his Tuesday, had no idea. The administrative section of Caldwell PD smells like burnt coffee and toner ink, the particular smell of an office that has been running the same equipment for a decade without replacing anything. A cluster of desks, monitors with thick bezels, a printer that jams every third job, a coffee maker on a counter in the corner that has been running since 6 that morning and will keep running until the last person turns off the lights. The fluorescent overhead gives everything the flat, shadowless quality of a room that has never been asked to be anything other than functional. It is 9:04 p.m. Rhonda Keels is at the primary records terminal with her reading glasses on and her expression arranged in the focused blankness of a woman performing a task she finds unremarkable. She is 47, 19 years with the Caldwell Police Department. She is not a police officer. She does not carry a weapon. She does not have a badge. What she has is a login to the record system that she has had since 2005 and access to every case file, charge entry, and maintenance log that passes through this building. And she has used all of it for 19 years in exactly the way that Boyd Hatcher has needed it used. She types in the charges: obstruction, possession with intent to distribute. She types them cleanly, without pausing, the way a woman types things she has typed before. Then she opens a new field and adds a third charge: resisting arrest with violence. Let the narrator be clear about what that means. Resisting arrest with violence is a charge that requires documented physical resistance. It requires evidence, video if available, written statements detailing the specific resistance behaviors observed by the arresting officers. For a charge that serious, applied to a man who was recorded on a civilian live stream from initial stop to cruiser door without a single act of non-compliance, the evidence does not exist. Has never existed. Tamara Ellis's phone captured 6 minutes of footage that directly, specifically, frame by frame, contradicts this charge. Rhonda Keels is entering it anyway. She opens a second window. The county annex camera log. The footage from the holding unit would show, clearly, without any ambiguity, a man walking compliantly to a bench, sitting down, and staying there for 5 hours. She positions her cursor in the log's entry field. She types, camera equipment failure, annex holding unit, footage unavailable. She hits enter. The camera is functioning perfectly. It has been recording all evening. The piece of electrical tape over its lens, partially covering the indicator light, is not a malfunction. It is a choice, and Rhonda Keels just made it official. The federal investigation will later trace this exact phrase, camera equipment failure, through 19 prior maintenance log entries over 6 years, all in Rhonda's login, all entered within hours of an arrest Hatcher needed cleaned up. 19 times, same words, different names. This is the 20th. Behind her, Officer Trey Fontaine walks through the administrative section on his way from the front desk to the break room. He is 24, the youngest person in the building by at least 6 years, and he moves through it with the slightly provisional air of someone still working out whether this place is what he thought it was. He passes behind Rhonda's station. His eyes go to the monitor, just a glance, the natural reflex of someone passing a lit screen. He sees the charge entry, resisting arrest with violence. He sees the maintenance log line, camera equipment failure. His step doesn't break. He keeps walking. He does not know what he is looking at, not yet. But something stays with him around the corner, the way a wrong smell stays in a room. Tonight will make certain decisions for Trey Fontaine that Trey Fontaine does not yet know he has to make. 40 miles south in Macon, Renata Osei has been on the phone for 12 minutes. Her voice is even, unhurried, and completely precise. She is speaking to a duty officer at the FBI Director's Office in Washington. Not the first person she called tonight, but the most important so far, and she is giving him everything in sequence. Marcus's name, his operation, his rank, his last known position from both the personal beacon and the vehicle GPS. The booking log entry she found at 5:47 p.m., the elapsed time since both signals went dark. The identity of every officer from the Operation Hollow Badge indictment currently on duty inside that building. She delivers it the way she delivers everything. One correct fact followed by the next correct fact, no wasted words, no register of personal alarm, because composure is not the absence of urgency. It is what urgency looks like when it is correctly directed. She finishes. The duty officer says, "Hold, please." The hold lasts 4 seconds. Then a different voice comes on the line. Back in the administrative section, Rhonda saves her entries. She closes the windows. She takes off her reading glasses and sets them on the desk and rolls her shoulders. She stands, stretches, and walks to the coffee maker in the corner. She fills her cup with the coffee that has been sitting since 6 this morning, thick as motor oil, smelling of burned grounds, and she does not hurry, because she has done her part and she will be home by midnight. What Rhonda Keels does not know, pouring her coffee in the flat fluorescent light of a Tuesday evening, is that in 72 hours, a federal agent will knock on the door of the Waffle House 2 miles from this building and place her under arrest. That 19 years will not be a career she is retiring from, but a federal case she built with her own keystrokes. That her pension, the pension she has been calculating mentally for 11 months, is already gone. That the paperwork she just filed, the paperwork she has filed dozens of times before without consequence, will be exhibit after exhibit after exhibit. She pours her coffee. The building hums. The coffee maker begins its next cycle. The Macon FBI field office sits on the north end of the city in a converted commercial building, low profile by design, identifiable from the street only by a federal seal bolted to the wall beside a door that requires keycard access and does not say what it is. Most of the staff went home hours ago. The parking lot holds 3 cars. Inside, the building smells like industrial carpet and recycled air. The hallways are quiet. Room 14, the operations center, is not. It is 9:12 p.m. Renata Osei is at her desk with 3 screens running and a legal pad in front of her, covered in notes written in a hand that is fast and tight and legible only to her. She has a phone to her ear. She has not put it down in 20 minutes. She is 51 years old, natural silver threaded through her locks, and she has the particular composure of a woman who has run 19 years of field operations and knows, at a cellular level, as a professional truth, that composure is not the absence of urgency. It is what urgency looks like when it is correctly directed. The grace window closed at 9:12 p.m. 2 hours after Marcus's personal beacon last pinged at 4:03 p.m. The vehicle GPS has confirmed the Suburban sitting unmoved on the shoulder of Route 9 since that moment, both signals dark for 5 hours and 9 minutes. Renata has not waited for the window to close to start moving. She has been moving since 8:31 p.m., when the booking log confirmed what the silent GPS was already telling her. She is not reacting. She is executing. She finishes the call and opens a new screen. The Operation Hollow Badge active file. A year of work, organized with the precision of someone who knew, always, that this moment was a possibility. She cross-references Garrett Lyons' shift schedule against the indictment. His name is on it. He is on duty. He was the officer assigned to the Annex unit tonight. She pulls up every officer currently on duty in the building against the existing indictment file. She counts the overlap. She writes a number on her legal pad and underlines it twice. Then she picks up the phone and makes 3 calls, each one under 90 seconds. The first call goes to the FBI director's duty officer in Washington, the same line she reached an hour ago, the one that connected her to a different voice after a 4-second hold. That voice told her to have the warrant file ready. It is ready. It has been 90% drafted for 6 weeks, waiting on the final escalation documentation that Marcus's 8 hours inside that building just finished providing. The additional charges filed against Marcus tonight have given the indictment everything it was waiting for: credential theft under federal statute, false imprisonment of a federal officer, aggravated civil rights violation under color of law, and the charge the judge in Atlanta will sign at 9:47 p.m., the charge that will define Hatcher's sentencing: kidnapping of a federal officer under 18 U.S. Code Section 1201. Mandatory minimum: 20 years, no parole eligibility for 18. The judge signs at 9:47 p.m. The second call goes to the U.S. Attorney for the Northern District of Georgia, his home number. She has had it for 11 months, and this is the first time she has dialed it. He picks up on the second ring. The third call goes to Colonel Warren Gaines of the Georgia State Patrol. He picks up before it finishes its first ring. He does not say hello. Before Renata can speak, he says, "Oh, say, tell me where." 5 words. That is all it takes. Because Colonel Gaines has been in Renata's operational network for the duration of Operation Hollow Badge. He has known this call was coming. He has been waiting for it with the patient readiness of a man who has spent his career choosing to use institutional authority in the direction of accountability rather than impunity, and who has been watching from 40 miles away as the opposite choice played out in Caldwell for years. He authorizes air support under Federal Officer Recovery Protocol without being asked. A State Patrol helicopter lifts from the Albany airfield at 10:11 p.m. Among the support roles Renata activates in the next 40 minutes is technical specialist Dana Reyes, a federal communications technician whose assigned specialty is remote access to target building intercom and public address infrastructure. Modern police department PA systems are IP managed, run through network control units that can be accessed remotely when you know the building's infrastructure data. Reyes has Caldwell PD's full infrastructure file. That file was compiled as part of 11 months of pre-operational research for Hollow Badge, the same research that mapped the building's camera placements, its cell configurations, its shift patterns. Reyes begins establishing the remote link from the support vehicle parked 1 block east of Caldwell PD while the convoy assembles. The director's announcement will be ready to broadcast through the building's own speakers the moment agents confirm perimeter. Federal teams begin moving at 10:03 p.m. 6 black SUVs from the Macon field office, lights dark, moving at speed. 3 Georgia State Patrol cruisers from the nearest post, the support unit with Reyes and her equipment, and above it all, tracking south through the dark Georgia sky, a helicopter with its running lights on and its searchlight ready. Subscribe right now, because tomorrow's story is even bigger than this one. But right now, stay with me, because the most satisfying 8 minutes in Caldwell's history are about 17 minutes away. The convoy moves south on I-475 in the dark. No sirens, no announcement, just speed and purpose and 11 months of work compressed into a column of vehicles doing exactly what they were built to do. 40 miles north of where Marcus Dillard is sitting on a cold metal bench with a watch on his wrist that has been recording since 3:47 p.m. and a GPS beacon pulsing every 2 minutes from inside his belt. In the sky above the southern horizon, a set of running lights traces a line through the dark. From the ground, it looks like nothing particular, just a light moving through the night. It is moving toward Caldwell, and it is moving with everything it needs. The main corridor of the Caldwell PD building at 10:17 p.m. smells like the end of a long day. Floor cleaner going stale, coffee from a machine nobody emptied, the faint, specific sourness of a building where people have been stressed for hours without a window open. The fluorescent lights have been on since morning. Under them, everything looks a little flatter than it actually is, a little more tired. Officer Trey Fontaine is at the front desk with a stack of intake paperwork from the previous shift's arrests. He is 24, the youngest sworn officer in the building by 6 years, and he is working with the concentrated attention of a man who is trying, by doing his job correctly, to feel okay about the building he's doing it in. He has not filed a complaint about anything he saw tonight. He has not said anything to anyone. He has been watching for 8 hours, with the guilty neutrality of someone who has not yet decided whether neutrality is cowardice. A duty supervisor appears in the corridor. Fontaine, prisoner in the annex, gets his phone call. Go get him. Fontaine sets down his pen. He gets up. The annex corridor is cold, noticeably colder than the main building, the temperature differential hitting him the moment he pushes through the connecting door. His footsteps echo differently back here. Harder surfaces, no carpet, the stripped-down acoustic of a space designed without comfort in mind. He unlocks the cell and opens the door. Marcus Dillard stands up from the bench in a single, clean movement. He is still in the Navy Oxford and slacks from this afternoon, creased now from hours of sitting in cold concrete. He shows no visible sign of what it cost him to wait. His face is composed. His hands are at his sides. He looks at Fontaine, really looks at him, the focused, assessing look of a man reading a person the way other people read text, and then he walks. The phone is in a small alcove off the main corridor. A landline on a shelf, no chair, the kind of setup that makes clear the call is a procedure rather than a service. Fontaine positions himself a step back and to the side, not turning away, not encroaching. He gives space in the particular way of someone who, if they can't make things right, at least does not want to make them worse. Marcus picks up the receiver. He dials 11 digits from memory. No hesitation, no consulting anything, just the smooth, automatic sequence of a number he has carried in his head for 11 months against exactly this possibility. 2 rings. Dillard. The voice on the other end is Renata's. Flat, present, completely steady. We have you. Are you injured? Minor. Head contact. Hypothermic stress. They planted. They filed. Warrant signed 40 minutes ago. Teams are moving. ETA 22 minutes. Copy. A half beat. I'll be here. He hangs up. The entire call lasts 31 seconds. Let the narrator be clear about something because it matters. Those warrants existed before Marcus picked up that phone. The convoy was already on the highway. The helicopter was already in the air. Renata Osei had been moving since 8:31 p.m., building the response that Operation Hollow Badge was always designed to produce the moment something like this happened. Marcus's call did not trigger the cavalry. The cavalry was always coming. The call confirmed he was conscious, mobile, and aware of the timeline. That is all. That is all it needed to do. And if you are only now understanding what that means, that Marcus chose to endure every hour of what happened tonight because he was building the case while it was happening to him, then you are understanding what this story is actually about. He had been counting. The whole time. He had been waiting. And now, he was done. He sets the receiver down. He turns to Fontaine. He looks at the young officer for a long moment, the full, unhurried attention of a man who has spent 14 years learning to read people and institutions and the difference between someone who is corrupt and someone who has simply not yet been given a reason to be anything else. Fontaine meets his eyes, does not look away. Son. Marcus's voice is quiet, not a whisper, quiet in the way that is different from a whisper, the way that means every word is chosen. In about 20 minutes, this building is going to get very loud. When it does, stand still. Keep your hands visible, and tell the truth about everything you saw tonight. That's the only thing you need to do. Fontaine's mouth opens, closes. He looks at Marcus like a man receiving information he doesn't fully have context for yet, but whose body has already responded to it, a tightening across the chest, a shift in posture. There are things he saw tonight that he hasn't been able to name. He is naming them now. Marcus walks himself back toward the annex. Fontaine watches him go. Down the corridor, through the connecting door, back into the cold. The door swings shut. Fontaine stands alone in the main corridor under the flat, fluorescent light for a moment that is longer than it sounds. Something has finished resolving behind his eyes. The particular resolution of a young person realizing that the decision they were waiting to make is already made, and has been made for a while, and the only question left is what they do about it. It is too late to change what happened tonight. It is not too late to be the person he actually wants to be. He goes back to the front desk. He picks up his pen. He begins, for the first time since this afternoon, writing things down that are going to matter. In the annex cell, Marcus sits on the metal bench. He checks his watch. 10:21 p.m. He draws one long, slow breath and lets it all the way out. The cold is the same cold it has been for 6 hours. The bench is the same bench. The vent rattles its 40-second interval in the corner. None of that has changed. Everything else is about to. 17 minutes. He sits still and he waits. And somewhere south of Caldwell, moving through the dark Georgia sky with its running lights on and its searchlight ready, the helicopter keeps coming. Tamara Ellis has been in her car for 6 hours and 51 minutes. Her scrubs are wrinkled, her back aches from the seat. She has eaten nothing since the granola bar she found in her center console at 6:30. But her phone is on the dash and her stream is running, and 22,000 people are watching the front of a building in Caldwell, Georgia with her, live, in real time, because someone in the comments shared a police scanner feed 40 minutes ago, and the numbers started climbing and haven't stopped. She notices her battery indicator flickering, 8%. She looks at the charger cable and sees it, half-seated in the port, just slightly out, not making full contact. She has been slowly draining on battery power for the last 20 minutes. She pushes the cable in with her thumb, feels it click, watches the charging indicator appear. 8%. The stream held. She does not think about how close it was. She raises her phone and points it at the highway entrance to Mercer Street. She doesn't know why she points it there, she just does. That's when she sees the lights. No sirens. That's the first thing. No noise, no announcement. Nothing that says, "Look at this." Just 6 black SUVs moving in precise formation out of the dark, headlights on low, executing a synchronized turn onto Mercer Street with the unhurried precision of a team that has rehearsed this. Behind them, 3 Georgia State Patrol cruisers, their gold and blue markings catching the streetlight, moving without rushing, because they do not need to rush. They simply appear. A column of federal authority materializing out of the dark, like something that was always there and is only now choosing to be seen. In Tamara's comment section, 22,000 people are typing the same 3 letters at the same time. The convoy splits at the building. 2 SUVs to the front entrance, 2 to the south side, 1 to the rear. 1 holds position in the lot as a command vehicle. The state patrol cruisers take the street-level perimeters. Every door, no gap. The lead SUV's door opens. Renata Osei steps out in full FBI raid vest, her credentials displayed at chest level, her expression the absolute calm of a woman who has spent 11 months building toward this exact moment and finds, upon arriving at it, that it looks exactly like she planned. Behind her, in sequence, door after door, one beat apart, 22 federal agents in blue and gold step out and move toward the building's entrances in silence. No shouting, no theatrics, just 22 professionals doing one specific job with specific precision, and every entrance to that building covered before anyone inside has fully processed what they're looking at. And then it happens. From directly above, Tamara's camera tilts skyward and catches it. 22,000 people tilt with her. The State Patrol helicopter drops from altitude to a hover directly over the Caldwell PD parking lot. Its searchlight fires. White. Pure white. The entire scene goes to daylight. The SUVs, the agents, the building, the parking lot, all of it lit like noon, like nothing in this county has ever been lit before. And then the building speaks. Through Caldwell PD's own PA system, through every speaker in every room, every corridor, every holding cell and interview room and administrative alcove, through the building's own voice, commandeered from one block east by technical specialist Dana Reyes in the time it takes to confirm a perimeter, the voice of the director of the Federal Bureau of Investigation says, "This facility is currently the subject of an active federal law enforcement operation. All personnel are directed to remain stationary, display identification, and comply fully with agents of the Federal Bureau of Investigation. This is not a request." Inside, the building freezes. A coffee cup hits the floor and rolls. It doesn't shatter. In the silence, you can hear it rolling. Rhonda Keels is still at her desk. Her hand is on her mouse. She does not move it. She stares at the monitor like a woman who has just understood something she cannot understand. Boyd Hatcher stepped outside 60 seconds ago for air. He is in the parking lot. He has his keys in his hand. He watches the convoy, the agents, the helicopter, the searchlight. He watches Renata Osei walk toward him. And he does something that 26 years of officers who worked under him have never once seen him do. He stops moving. Completely. He doesn't know what to do with his keys. In the locker room corridor, Dale Pruitt is mid-change. Duty jacket on the bench beside him, the credential case exactly where he put it 5 hours ago, in the inner pocket, as if he forgot it was there, or as if he never imagined there would be a reason to move it. 2 federal agents come through the door. "Sir, display your badge." Pruitt reaches by reflex. One agent glances at the duty jacket on the bench. "Sir, is that your jacket?" Pruitt looks at the jacket. He looks at the agents. He has nothing. They recover the jacket. They open the inner pocket. The credential case is there. Marcus Dillard's FBI credentials, sealed and intact, in the pocket of the man who called them fake. Kevin Stalls, heading for the south exit toward his personal vehicle, walks out the door directly into a federal agent covering the south perimeter. "Stop! Display your identification!" He stops. His hands come up. That is everything Kevin Stalls does for the next 4 hours. He stands still, and then he cooperates, and the story of what he tells the agents will become the most complete account of that night that the prosecution has. In the parking lot, Renata Osei stops 2 feet from Boyd Hatcher. She looks at him. She doesn't need to say what the look says. She doesn't need to reach for anything yet. She just looks at him with the expression of someone who knows everything and has always known it, standing in front of a man who is just now beginning to understand that. Then, very quietly, she says, "Sergeant Hatcher, let's go inside." He goes. The county annex holding corridor at 10:44 p.m. sounds different than it did this morning. Boots on tile. Federal issue. Moving with purpose. Radio crackle, clipped and professional. 2 agents in full raid vests flanking the cell door, their posture the efficient readiness of people who are exactly where they are supposed to be and know it. The corridor is no warmer than it was 6 hours ago. The cold doesn't care about jurisdiction. The cell door opens. Agent Torres steps through it with a multi-tool. She's efficient, no unnecessary words. She moves to Marcus's wrists, evaluates the zip ties, and cuts. The marks the ties have left are red and raw, deep impressions in the skin above the wrist bones, the specific pressure pattern of restraints applied 5 hours ago and never loosened. Torres does not look away from them. She unslings the forensic camera from her vest and photographs both wrists before Marcus moves his arms. Every mark on his body is evidence. Every mark is being preserved. This is what accountability looks like when it's done right. Marcus rolls his wrists. He breathes. 30 seconds later, Renata Osei comes through the corridor. She is carrying something in her right hand. She holds it out to Marcus. His credential case, black leather, federal seal gold, recovered from the inner pocket of Dale Pruitt's duty jacket on the locker bench, where it has been sitting for 7 hours and 4 minutes. Marcus takes it, opens it, verifies the ID, methodical, precise, the same check he'd do in any professional context, no haste, no relief performing itself. He closes it. He puts it in his pocket. He looks at Renata. She looks at him. "Next time," she says, "answer your beacon." "It's been a long 11 months. She almost smiles. Almost. The field medic works quickly and thoroughly. He documents an occipital head contusion, consistent with high-velocity contact with a hard surface, at the base of Marcus's skull. He records core temperature at 96.8 degrees Fahrenheit, below the normal threshold, within clinical hypothermic stress range. Peripheral vasoconstriction. Early-stage shivering, now that adrenaline is no longer suppressing it. He photographs, measures, and writes everything down. The medical report, when completed, will form a significant portion of the physical abuse charges against Garrett Lyons and the institutional neglect counts against the Morrow County Sheriff's Office. It will be entered into evidence. It will be read in court. At 11:02 p.m., Boyd Hatcher is formally arrested in the lobby of the Caldwell Police Department, the lobby he has walked through for 26 years, the lobby where he has given orders and received deference and been, in every room he has ever occupied in this building, the most powerful person in it. Renata reads the charges aloud. Her voice is even and unhurried and completely clear. Sergeant Hatcher, civil rights conspiracy under color of law, obstruction of a federal investigation, false imprisonment of a federal agent, kidnapping of a federal officer under 18 United States Code, Section 1201, carrying a mandatory minimum of 20 years federal with no parole eligibility for 18. Accessory to the manufacturing of false evidence, filing of fraudulent criminal charges. She pauses. There are 11 additional charges that will be read to you in full during processing. The color drains from Hatcher's face, not quickly, slowly, the way a man goes pale when the weight of what is happening finally reaches the part of his brain that believed, right up until this moment, that it wasn't going to. His hands, being cuffed behind him, are trembling, not from the cold. The building is warm in the lobby. At 11:14 p.m., Kevin Stalls is arrested in the south parking lot. He begins talking before he reaches the processing table and does not stop for 2 hours. His account is specific, sequential, and damning. Every instruction Pruitt gave, every conversation with Hatcher, every decision made between Route 9 and the annex cell. He is the most cooperative person in the building tonight. He will be, in the end, the most valuable one to the prosecution. At 11:47 p.m., a separate federal team that has been parked outside Garrett Lyons' address since 10:30 p.m. knocks on his door. He answers in a t-shirt and sweatpants. He sees the badges. He says nothing. Not a word, from the moment of recognition to the moment the car door closes behind him. The narrator describes his silence as the particular silence of a man who knew, at some level, beneath all of his certainty, that this was always possible. He just never believed tonight would be the night. He was wrong about that. In the lobby, Marcus stands and watches the organized, unhurried machinery of accountability moving through every room of the building. federal agents directing officers, paperwork beginning. The long, specific work of documentation and processing and legal precision that will continue for months and produce charges that stick and sentences that land. This is what it looks like when the law works the way it is supposed to work. It is not spectacular, it is thorough. And thoroughness, Marcus has always believed, is what makes it last. He takes one breath. He walks toward the center of the room. The lobby of the Caldwell Police Department at 10:58 p.m. has been transformed. Officers seated in a row against the wall, overnight shift, all complied, all waiting. Federal agents moving through the building in pairs, systematic and quiet. The overhead lights on full. Outside, through the glass door, the helicopter's searchlight still sweeps the parking lot in slow, even arcs. Trey Fontaine sits at the far end of the row with his hands folded on his knees and his eyes forward, the youngest person in the room by a decade, waiting to find out who he is going to be. Marcus Dillard walks to the center of the lobby. He does not hurry. He looks at the row of officers, the people who were here tonight, some who participated, some who heard things and did nothing, some who simply wore the uniform of this building and are now sitting with what that means. He takes his time with each face, not with performance, not with judgment that needs an audience. He is simply a man who spent 11 months learning this institution at its most honest, and he is looking at the people inside it with the full weight of what he knows. Then he speaks. His voice does not rise. It never has. My name is Special Agent Marcus Dillard. I have been a federal agent for 14 years. I have spent the last 11 months in this county documenting what this department has been doing to people who look like me, and like many of you, for at least the past 9 years. Silence in the lobby. One agent pauses in the corridor doorway. A woman on the far side of the room, one of the overnight clerks, has her hand over her mouth. She doesn't lower it. Tonight did not change anything about that case. It only added to it. Every person in this building who was involved in what happened between 3:47 p.m. and 11:04 p.m. tonight added charges to an indictment that was already signed before this shift started. A pause. He looks at each face and does not look away. I want you to understand something clearly. I am not angry. I am not vengeful. I am doing my job, and my job, as of tonight, is done. The lobby holds its breath. He turns. He walks to the end of the row, to Trey Fontaine. He stops in front of him. Fontaine meets his eyes, the straight, searching look of a young man who has been rehearsing this moment in his head all night and is now, suddenly, in it. Marcus looks at him for one long beat. Then he says, simply, quietly, like something he already knows, "You're fine." Fontaine exhales. It is a long exhale, the kind that comes from somewhere below the chest, the kind a person makes when something they have been holding for hours finally lets go. His eyes go bright. He nods. He doesn't trust himself to speak, and he doesn't need to, because Marcus has already moved on, and what Fontaine is left with is something he is going to carry for a long time. Marcus walks toward the front door. He pushes it open. He steps outside. The helicopter is still there, and the pilot, who will later tell investigators that no one ordered what he did next, that he acted entirely on his own initiative, holds the searchlight on Marcus as he crosses the parking lot. The full white beam. Marcus Dillard, walking through it. He does not look up at it. He does not slow down. He does not raise a fist or turn back toward the building. He is simply a man walking to a car in a parking lot, lit up like the only thing in the world worth seeing. Across Mercer Street, Tamara Ellis's phone battery reads 31% and climbing. Her stream has 47,000 concurrent viewers. She points her camera at him as he crosses. Marcus walks past her car. He stops. He looks into the lens, not at the phone, into the lens. The specific look of a man who knows there are tens of thousands of people on the other side of it and who has nothing to perform for them, nothing to prove, nothing to declare beyond what he already said inside. He is just present, just himself, just a man who spent 11 months building something and endured 8 hours of indignity to complete it, and is now standing on the other side of it in white searchlight. He holds the look for one breath. Then he gets into the federal vehicle. The door closes. The stream is 47,000 strong, and the comment section is moving too fast to read a single line. Tamara doesn't try. She pans her camera slowly across the scene. The convoy, the helicopter, the building with every light blazing and federal agents visible in every window. The arrested officers beginning to move through the lobby inside. She captures all of it. Then she turns the camera on herself. For the first time all night, she looks into it. She doesn't say anything for a long moment. 6 hours and 58 minutes of staying when every reasonable thing said she could go. She sat in a parking lot in her nursing scrubs, and she held her phone steady, and she did not go home. Then she says, very quietly, "I almost went home." She lowers the phone. The stream ends. Wednesday morning comes to Caldwell, Georgia, the way mornings always come. The light going gold over Route 9, the Dollar General sign catching the first hour of sun, the water tower visible from the north end of town with the city's name on it like it always has been. From the outside, driving through, the city looks exactly the same as it always has. It is not the same at all. By 8 a.m., cable news has run Tamara Ellis's footage 14 times. The clip of the helicopter dropping its searchlight, the clip of 22 agents materializing out of the dark, the clip of the director's voice coming through Caldwell PD's own building, filling its own rooms, and the clip most played of all. A man in a navy Oxford shirt walking through white light, unhurried, chin level, looking like exactly what he is. The number of people who watched that live stream live was 47,000. The number who have seen the footage since then is a different number entirely, and it is climbing. The Caldwell PD building has a single Georgia State Patrol cruiser parked outside and a federal notice on its front door. The parking lot has more news vans than it was designed to hold. 2 of them are from networks whose headquarters are in cities that, until yesterday, had never heard of Caldwell, Georgia. 13 badges. Within 72 hours of the Tuesday night arrests, Operation Hollow Badge executes its remaining warrants. 9 Caldwell PD officers, 4 Morrow County Sheriff's deputies, some taken Tuesday night. The rest identified through 11 months of prior documentation and picked up Wednesday and Thursday, at homes, at diners, in one case at a fishing dock off the Okmulgee River at 6:15 in the morning. The federal charges are specific and they are numerous. Civil rights conspiracy, evidence tampering, racially discriminatory enforcement patterns, false arrest, civil rights violation under color of law. 13 people who believed the paperwork would always reflect whatever they decided. Boyd Hatcher is sentenced to 22 years federal with no parole eligibility for the first 18. At his sentencing, the judge does something the courtroom does not expect. She pauses before reading the sentence and names 4 people from the bench. 4 prior victims whose cases were directly contaminated by Hatcher's department, whose lives were broken by charges that Rhonda Keels processed and Hatcher authorized, and nobody ever challenged because nobody was coming for them. She reads their names. The courtroom is silent. Then she reads the sentence. 22 years. Hatcher's attorney puts a hand on his arm. Hatcher does not react. He has nothing left to react with. Dale Pruitt, 9 years federal for civil rights violation, theft of federal property, and filing a false police report. The credential case that has been in an evidence bag since the night Renata's agents recovered it from his duty jacket is entered into the record. Exhibit 7. Garrett Lyons, 14 years federal. The hate crime enhancement applied to the head contact assault in the annex cell adds years that Lyons' attorney argues against, and the judge sustains without much deliberation. Kevin Stalls, 18 months probation, a permanent law enforcement bar, no prison time. The federal prosecutor explains the distinction on the record because it needs to be on the record. Unlike Pruitt, who initiated the stop, pocketed the credential, and directed the arrest, Stalls cannot be proven to have known in advance that the stop was pretextual. He followed a senior officer's lead. He did not engineer the situation. His full cooperation, which began in the south parking lot and did not stop, provided the most complete account of Hatcher's and Pruitt's conduct that the prosecution had. That is the difference, the prosecutor says, between conspiracy and a single civil rights count, between prison and probation. The judge notes it on the record. He makes clear it is not leniency, it is precision. Deputy Ellis Crane, who stood in the doorway of the annex cell while Lyons committed assault and said nothing, reported nothing, did nothing, receives a deferred prosecution agreement in exchange for sworn testimony. He is permanently barred from law enforcement. The federal prosecutor describes his position in open court as the narrowest margin in this case. It is not a compliment. Rhonda Keels is arrested at 12:14 a.m. Wednesday morning at a Waffle House 2 miles from the station, still in her coat, coffee going cold in front of her. 4 years federal, obstruction of a federal investigation, tampering with law enforcement records, conspiracy to violate civil rights, and the pension, full forfeiture, 19 years, gone. When that detail emerges in local coverage 3 days later, it becomes the most quoted sentence in every story. Not the prison term, the pension. Something about that number, 19 years, $0, lands differently than everything else. 31 prior convictions are flagged for review. Drug possession charges, obstruction counts, resisting arrest charges secured through evidence or testimony from the arrested officers. Over the following 4 months, all 31 are vacated. The narrator will name 2 of the people those convictions belong to. A man named Derek Ware, who lost his job at a shipping warehouse and his apartment in the same month in 2019 because of a possession charge that Beal's evidence kit made possible. And a woman named Angela Pruitt, no relation, who lost custody of her 7-year-old daughter because of fabricated officer testimony that 3 separate review hearings had accepted without question. Derek Ware and Angela Pruitt each receive a letter. The letter says, vacated. It is not enough, but it is something. And it is the first honest thing this system has given either of them. Trey Fontaine keeps his job. He is debriefed by federal investigators for 4 hours. His account matches the physical evidence in Tamara Ellis's footage at every single point. He is the only member of the overnight shift who does not lose his badge. The narrator does not editorialize about this. It is enough, on its own, to mean exactly what it means. On Thursday morning, a federal agent takes down the notice from the Caldwell PD door and replaces it with a temporary operating sign. Alongside it goes one new fixture in the parking lot, a Georgia State Patrol cruiser, mandated to be present for the next 90 days under the terms of the consent decree. It is not a symbol. It is a condition. That difference matters more than it sounds. 3 weeks after the Tuesday of Route 9, a conference room in the Northern District of Georgia's U.S. Attorney's Office smells like printer toner and cold coffee and the particular tension of people who are present for something that cannot be undone. Long table, federal seals on the wall, stacks of files, binders and folders, and indexed exhibits that represent 11 months of work, and one night that made all of it usable in ways no one on the defense side had anticipated. The settlement negotiation between the City of Caldwell and the Department of Justice is in its second session. The city's attorney is a careful man in a gray suit who has read the full Operation Hollow Badge report and knows, with the clarity of someone who has done this a long time, that careful is the only thing he has left to be. The City of Caldwell settles for $6.2 million. The consent decree attached to that settlement is 47 pages long. It requires mandatory body camera activation with automatic cloud upload for every sworn officer on every shift, no exceptions. An independent civilian oversight board with actual subpoena authority, not an advisory council, not a community liaison committee, a board that can compel testimony and documentation. Mandatory third-party review of every drug conviction secured by any of the 13 arrested officers. A complete prohibition on pretextual traffic stops without documented probable cause, with quarterly federal audit of all stop data. And mandatory annual civil rights certification for every sworn officer in the department, renewable, on record, with consequences for lapse. 47 pages. The city's attorney signs it on a Tuesday. The city does not hold a press conference. The Morrow County Sheriff, not arrested, but named in a supervisory failure finding that occupies 11 pages of the Operation Hollow Badge report, resigns within 6 days of the arrests. His resignation letter frames the departure as personal. A local journalist at the Caldwell Courier-Tribune publishes it in full on a Thursday, with a sidebar running alongside it that lists, in order, every key finding from the Operation Hollow Badge report. The juxtaposition is its own editorial. No additional commentary is needed. None is offered. Deputy Carl Mote, the man who walked past Marcus's cell and kept walking, cooperates with federal investigators and provides testimony that turns out to be more consequential than anyone, including Mote, anticipated. He tells investigators that the cold annex cell was not a malfunction, that its use for difficult detainees was an informal protocol that everyone in that building understood and no one documented, that in 2022, he personally watched Boyd Hatcher instruct the deputy to place a specific arrestee in the annex unit rather than the main holding area, with no written justification, for reasons that Mote understood at the time and did not challenge. That testimony transforms the cold cell charges from institutional negligence into intentional infliction, a distinction that strengthens 3 separate findings in the civil settlement and adds weight to counts that, without Mote's account, might have been pled down. He receives a reduced federal charge. He receives a permanent law enforcement bar. He will spend the rest of his life knowing that his moment of usefulness came 9 years too late, and that he chose it anyway when it finally arrived. Comment below and tell me where you're watching from, because this story has been seen in 50 states and 14 countries, and I want to know where you are. And if you're not subscribed yet, now is the time, because the next story starts exactly the same way this one does, with someone being told they don't matter, by people who had no idea who they were dealing with. Tamara Ellis gets 3 calls in 48 hours. A national newspaper, a cable news network, a documentary production company based in Atlanta whose first question is, "Did you save the full archive?" She saved the full archive. 6 hours and 51 minutes of unbroken footage, unedited, time-stamped from the first moment she raised her phone on the shoulder of Route 9 to the last second before the stream ended outside Caldwell PD. She licenses it for an amount the narrator will not name specifically, only that it is enough to finish her nursing master's degree and fund the first 2 years of the nonprofit she has been building in her head since before that parking lot. A civilian legal observer training program for communities in counties without adequate public defenders. Teaching people how to document the way she documented, steady, wide, silent, thorough. The judge in the federal trial calls her 6-hour archive one of the most consequential pieces of civilian documentation in a civil rights case since the advent of the smartphone. He says it on the record. It goes into the transcript. Tamara Ellis, 26, nursing student, reads that sentence in a federal court document on a Tuesday afternoon and sits with it for a long time. 4 months after Route 9, the Georgia State Legislature passes the Caldwell Accountability Act. Every municipality in Georgia with a population over 10,000 must submit annual civil rights compliance reports to the state attorney general, with tiered funding consequences for non-compliance. It is the first legislation of its kind in Georgia's history. It is named for the city that made it necessary. That naming is not a tribute. It is a warning. On a Thursday afternoon, Tamara Ellis sits at a corner table in a coffee shop on the north side of Caldwell and signs the documentary licensing agreement. She reads every page. She asks 2 questions, both of which the production company answers directly and to her satisfaction. She signs. She sets down the pen. She looks out the window at a street that looks like it always has and is not what it always was. She thinks about the parking lot, the charger cable, the 6 hours and 51 minutes she stayed past the moment when every reasonable thing said she could go. She is glad she didn't go. She orders a second coffee, and she opens her legal pad, and she starts writing the charter for the nonprofit at the top of a fresh page, in the same careful handwriting she uses for patient notes, because a record is a record is a record, and you make it the same way every time, clearly, completely, and without looking away. It is a Tuesday afternoon in March, 7 months since August. Route 9 through Caldwell, Georgia looks the same. Same strip malls, same Dollar General with its sun-bleached sign, same 2 lanes running south through a city of 94,000 people. The light is gold and thick the way it gets in the south even in early spring, pressing down warm on the asphalt until the edges shimmer. A dark blue 2022 Chevy Suburban moves south at exactly the speed limit. The driver has one hand on the wheel. His other arm rests against the door. Miles Davis on the stereo, low, thinking out loud. Marcus Dillard is on his way to a meeting with a sheriff 3 counties over who has been fielding complaints about his deputies for 2 years. There is a file on the seat beside him, indexed, organized, the beginning of a documentation architecture he knows how to build because he has built one before. He has been to that county briefly, in a different context, and he knows the terrain. He is, in every measurable way, doing exactly what he is supposed to be doing. He has work to do. 3 months after the night of Route 9, Marcus was appointed to lead the newly created Civil Rights Pattern or Practice Task Force, a permanent multi-agency unit within the FBI's Civil Rights Division. Its mandate to go looking for departments like Hatcher's before another Marcus Dillard has to spend 11 months inside one. He accepted with one condition, which was not a request. Renata Osei co-leads. She negotiated a better title than his. The narrator does not say what the title is, only that she earned it in every way that a title can be earned. In Caldwell, at the same desk where he sat with intake paperwork the night he learned who he was going to be, Trey Fontaine has just completed his first annual civil rights certification under the terms of the consent decree. It is a rigorous thing: case studies, legal standards, documented assessment, federal sign-off. He passed on his first attempt. He reads the name on the certificate when it comes back. The Dillard Compliance Standard. He sits with that for a moment. The specific, quiet feeling of reading a name on a document and understanding, all at once, exactly how much it costs the person it belongs to and exactly what it is asking of him in return. He puts the certificate on the wall. He goes back to work. He is building, one shift at a time, into the kind of officer this work was always supposed to produce. The Suburban passes the Caldwell Police Department building on Route 9. There is a new sign below the departmental seal, painted in black on white, installed by order of the Civilian Oversight Board, not removable without their approval. Accountability is not optional. Marcus sees it through the windshield. He does not slow down. He does not look away from it for a beat longer than the driving requires. Then he looks back at the road and keeps going. He has seen it before. He will see it again. It is not for him. It is for everyone who comes after. In the strip mall parking lot, where Dale Pruitt once sat running plates out of boredom on a Tuesday afternoon, a CPD cruiser is parked. New officer, new face. Part of a department that has been rebuilt from the ground up under federal oversight, with body cameras that activate automatically on approach and dashboard cameras that upload to the cloud every 4 seconds, not when the officer chooses, every 4 seconds, to a server that federal auditors review quarterly and that the Civilian Oversight Board can access at any time without notice. A car passes on Route 9. The officer glances at it. The glance is automatic, professional, the reflex of someone doing their job. The car is going the speed limit. The plates are clean. he lets it go. That moment, a car passing, a glance, a hand that does not reach for the lights, is not a small thing. It is the whole thing. It is what 7 months of work and 1 night of reckoning and 11 months of patience before that were always building toward. A car on a road, a driver who is exactly where they are supposed to be, an officer who sees it and does nothing because there is nothing to do. It is the most ordinary moment in the world, and in Caldwell, Georgia, in March, it is brand new. The Suburban moves south on Route 9, Miles Davis on the stereo, one hand on the wheel, the light gold and thick, the asphalt shimmering at the edges, the same road it has always been. In Caldwell, Georgia, they learned what some people already knew. Dignity cannot be taken. It can be tested, it can be delayed, it can be put in a cold room and told no one is coming, but it cannot be taken. The men who tried to take it from Marcus Dillard didn't just lose their badges, they lost their futures. To a man who never once raised his voice, never once lost his composure, and never once forgot what the law, when it works the way it's supposed to, was always meant to be. Not a weapon for the powerful, but a shield for everyone, especially the people it has most often failed. That is the story of Marcus Dillard, Route 9, and the night Caldwell, Georgia learned you cannot profile your way out of what's already been built against you. If this story moved you, hit that like button because it helps more people find it. Subscribe if you want to be here for the next one, and drop in the comments what moment got you, because we'll be reading. The next story is already coming, and it starts the same way every story like this starts, with someone deciding they've been underestimated for the last time.